Good afternoon. My name is Susi Lorini. I'm from the English Department, 11 Maret University. And on this occasion, on the second International Conference on Nusantara Cultural Studies, I would like to present my paper. Let me share my screen. This is my paper. It's entitled The Orphan as an Existentialist Tragic Hero in Budi Darma Rafilus. The background for my studies is theory about literary works and mythology, which considers that literary works as a creative art that speaks about the life of man is closely related with mythology, in a sense that both myths and literature are bound by laws of narration such as plot, theme, characterization. And then in modern stories, actually, we also find similar narrative theme characterizations that we found in mythology. The life of characters depicted in fictions of various genres, including modernist fiction, can be understood as monomyths. Joseph Campbell argues that 20th century stories are basically new versions of old ancient stories that we call myth. Another background reason for my studies is about orphans and heroes. In mythology, we find heroes, and most of the heroes that are presented in mythology usually are orphans. Heroes are most often presented as orphans. Because the orphans fit best with the story of human beings struggling hard to overcome a series of challenges, facing realities that do not often match expectations or do not meet with the ideals. An orphan has complicated position, and his task is to overcome innocence and denials and learn that sufferings, bitterness, and death are facts of life that one cannot avoid. In Budi Darma works, according to Farooq, most of them combines the comedy and tragedy genre. Many of Budi Dharma means characters are ordinary peoples that can be found in everyday life. They rise and fall amid unfortunate events, amid sufferings and struggles in their life. But in Budi Dharma stories, then these ordinary people that are presented as the main characters will appear to be great and dignified human beings. Orphan figures also dominate characterizations in Budi Dharma stories. Sorry, supposed to be Budi Dharma. For example, in the novel Olenka, in the novel Rafilus, and in other short stories that are collected in many of his books, such as Manusia yang Berdosa, Gauhati, and etc. and so on. Also, in many Budi Dharma's work, the theme is about people, about the main hero who is struggling in his life journey that reflects a kind of existentialist point of view or philosophy. Budi Darma himself also considered his profession as writers as a call of destiny. And in one of his books, he also explains or states that there are two kinds of existentialism. that are popular today in the modern time. First is the one that expressed in the works of Karl Jaspers and Soren Kierkegaard. This kind of existentialist is philosophy is considered to be uh, the one that believe in God, in contrast to the kind of existentialism popularized by Sartre and Camus, who that tends to be atheistic. This paper is a study of one of Budi Darma works, Rafilus. Yeah. Rafilus, as the novel, has been analyzed from various approaches. Several study has been done on the theme and on the structural, on the structure of the novels, and many of the words the study focus on the works from the approach or from the theory of genetic structuralism. The research questions in my paper is: one, can orphan figure in Rafilus in the novel be categorized as archetype orphan hero? How does plot development in the novel Rafilus support the characterization of Orphan as hero? And how does the construction of Rafilus as an orphan hero reveal an existentialist philosophical point of view? The ideas that I'm going to incorporate in the analysis, including the theory about monomyth, theory of tragedy, and existentialism. Monomyth actually is a term used for describing universal stages a hero or a figure in mythical narratives have to undergo in their journey. But the story about life's journey with a main figure that become the focus of the stories in modern times also show that in modern novel we can find a monomyth. Tragedy is a story about an important figure who undergoes a series of events ending up in a catastrophe, misery, or disaster. The purpose of a tragedy is to evoke emotions of pity and fear, thereby the audience may undergo catharsis. Existentialism. Existentialism is a term used to describe attitudes and views that emerged during the Second World War and after it in the field of philosophy, religions, and the arts. This view emphasizes the importance of existence rather than the essence of human existence, while some of the basic themes in existentialism are freedom, death, limitations, and morality, phenomenological experience, and moods such as anguish, anxiety, nausea, and boredom. Method. The method of collecting data as a qualitative descriptive study with the literary text as its object of study, the data in this research is in the forms of words, phrases, sentences, and data were collected based on its relevance to the purpose of study. In this paper, the data are presented in a descriptive form of the characterizations of the main character Rafilus in the novel by Budi Darma. Data analysis. Data analysis is presented in the forms of argument pertaining to the interpretations of Rafilus as an existentialist tragic hero. Two theoretical approaches used in the analysis are existential philosophy and Budi Darma own view on of abstractions in story writing process. The result, the characterization of Rafilus. Rafilus is characterized as an orphan. He's surviving alone, struggling. As an orphan, he has no father and mother and never experienced being nurtured and educated by a father. Rafilus also live alone, alienated from the society. It is told in the stories that every effort that he made to be able to interact with the society is often a result in failures because he is often misunderstood by the people to whom he get involved with or in the society, the community around him. To bring himself toward a better, to be in a better conditions, Rafilus tried to be a successful writer. Unlike his friends, the orphans who usually becomes simple workers such as lollipop sellers or becoming construction workers or becoming street sweepers, Rafilus wants to be a student. Even though he failed to become a naval student, he finally enroll in a university and become a student. He then strive hard to be a successful writer despite his actually limited knowledge and intellectual ability. He writes some stories and novels, but ironically, nobody read his novels and short story other than himself and a few people or person who know Rafilus. Rafilus also is aware about his failures to be a good writer, but he is so determined that he will continue struggling to be a good writer. Rafilus also is described as a person of failures. He experienced some kind of emptiness in life, a sense of values, first due to his inability to become a good writer, because he is aware pretty much about the limitation, about his brain that is not so brilliant, and also his limited intellectual ability. Rafilus also have a desire to have a children because of his awareness about the nature of a human being as a creature. He's very much aware about the role of human being in the universe created by God to regenerate. But having children is something that is impossible for him due to one of the reasons is that he will not be able to express love or compassion toward others. This will also happen to his child if he has a child. He admits that he doesn't have love, and love is the first thing that one has to have when if he wants to have a child. Rafilus then ends his life. He dies and a trend crash for the times. Discussion. In the first place, Rafilus can be considered as a urban hero of a survival monomyth in its versions in the version of a modern novel. Even though he learns only from others, even though readers learns about Rafilus from others, other characters, readers find a complete story on the life journey of Rafilus from his childhood to his death. In his life journey, Rafilus undergoes a typical story of the orphan hero surviving from hardship and suffering, and he has no experience of motherhood, no fatherhood. He lives alone. He is alienated from the society, but he survived anyway. As the existentialist hero, Rafilus is a hero in the modern 20th century story. He undeniably portrays a typical version of modern man from the existentialist point of view. He is completely aware of his finitude and limitations and fate as a human being that has no control over his own life. He is no master of his own life. He understands that in creating the universe, God has his own plan. Rafilus accepts the conditions of his limited intellectual ability and his inability to have children. As a tragic hero, Rafilus is portrayed as a significant person in the existentialist sense. Rafilus and his struggle to survive evokes emotions of fear and pity in the audience or in the readers, so that it becomes a kind of catharsis on the part of the reader. In conclusion, in the context of existentialist thought of Karl Jaspers, Rafilus can be considered as an existentialist tragic hero. The characterization of Rafilus as an orphan, as an individual with a self-awareness of the limitation of human beings and his struggle to exist to make meaning of his life, can be considered as representing a significant existential figure of modern time. Rafilus' life journey is worthy of telling, and even in the process of writing it, Tiwar, as the narrator of the story, experienced a catharsis. And on the part of the reader, the character Rafilus may evoke a sense of fear and pity, thus fulfilling the function of the novel as a tragedy. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you for listening to my presentation.